Spotlight on SHMU FM. Keeping it real with Tess.
Good afternoon. It's another day and it's time for Spotlight. And this afternoon, I have with me Laurie MacPherson, the founder of the Grow Consultancy. Let me tell you a little bit about her before we get chatting. With 25 years in customer service and 11 years in management under her belt, Laurie set up the Grow Consultancy in March 2019. She was involved in training and facilitation for a number of clients across sectors such as early years, legal, charity, local authorities, and aquaculture. She also provided employability training through a local authority and delivered SVQ assessments for individuals requiring basic IT skills. Since February 2019, she's also run a free Facebook group to help individuals find work and change careers. They also have the option to work with her on a one-to-one basis. Since COVID hit, she has shifted her focus away from training and now also provides help to businesses who are making redundancies too, to allow them to do this in an ethical and supportive way. Now, I think that's enough to stick around for. We have got a lot to talk about in a very short space of time. So Laurie, welcome. It is amazing to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tess.
I almost don't know where to begin. And so I think the best part would be is just give us a little bit about how you got into this line of work. Where did it all start? What is the passion?
Okay, so I worked for a company called Ingeus for 3.5 years as an employment advisor after leaving retail, which I'd done for many years. Loved retail, was a retail manager across some great brands, but I hated the hours in the end. I hated the evenings, the weekends, and the Christmas was a killer. So I myself didn't know what else I could possibly do, Tess, and I'll be honest, I had a real bit of who else would hire me, what else could I possibly do. I am essentially a salesperson. Prior to retail management, I was a holiday rep, team leader. I've always sold and I've always worked in service and I didn't know what else to do. So the role at Ingeus came up and it was helping people with long-term unemployed back to work. They had lots and lots of barriers, physical health, mental health, and lots of barriers that they didn't even know that they were really there. So for 3.5 years, I worked with them and I just loved it. I really loved seeing them grow and change and grow some confidence and get some self-belief after all the knocks that they'd had in life and often being told that they couldn't do things. Being able to tell them that they could and let them realise that was really, really powerful for me. So Ingeus, unfortunately, we knew we were getting made redundant for quite a while. It was a loss of a contract, so it wasn't a short-term thing. And with about 6 months to go before redundancy came, I knew that I wanted to set up on my own and do the bits that I loved the most. So the good thing about the situation we were in, as other staff left, I took over their roles. So I ended up doing the facilitation of the workshops and also placing clients with employers, all of which I really enjoyed. So I thought carefully about what I wanted to do next, and I decided to look at doing the things I enjoyed the most, which was most of the training, facilitation, bringing in all my management skills and experience to help other teams to be better, and started the Grow Consultancy officially in March of last year. Loved it, went out and did lots of training for all different sectors, got some great associate work with companies such as The Lens, who work with the third sector, with entrepreneurs, was so enjoying my time with them. Did some work for local authorities, again helping people back to work, which was very much comfortable for me. Helped them through SVQs if they needed help with their computer skills, and was all good to go in all these areas. Had lots of meetings set up with lots of other providers, and then COVID hit.
Yay! No.
Yay. No.
It is a lot about how one chooses to approach situations like this or anything in life. I think, COVID has taught us all to either reacting and responding and finding solutions, or we're crawling up in a hole and sort of feeling trapped and not knowing how to help. And I think you've turned your business around completely, and focused on helping people again.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So before COVID in February, completely independently, I was loving the the helping people side of the business, but the employability was also running along a side, and my business was a bit messy. So I decided to sort of take the employability stuff and make it a separate arm, if you like. And I started a free Facebook group called Your Fairy Job Mother, which was going to be all about career changing and putting the sparkle back in your career. And it started, and then it grew and grew, and then COVID hit and it exploded. And we're now at nearly 350 members. Lots of the initial response was, I need a job tomorrow, and it was quick start jobs, and it was basic stuff, and that has continued a little bit, but now we're sort of in a different place, and more longer term kind of effects are starting to be seen. So that was running along one side, and the other side was that the Grow Consultancy, I didn't want to take my training packages online. It wasn't right for me, and I made that decision, but I didn't really know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. But from day dot, I did know that I didn't want to crumble, and I didn't want to hide, and I didn't want to give up the business, and I didn't want this to be the end of my business and forever to say, well, I was doing really well, which I was until COVID. That didn't feel right for me. So from day dot, I looked online for people who said, keep talking, keep showing up, keep selling, keep offering a service. And I did that, and I took that message to some other businesses. One of my local business gateways asked me to speak to other businesses. I spoke for Scottish Women in Business to other business owners about keeping the lights on, keeping the business going, which I loved. But again, I'm not a business coach, and I was kind of wondering, why have I been asked to do this? And then I realised it was because I'm all about what you can do as opposed to what you can't do.
I think, optimism plays a huge role right now. People need people out there who are positive, who
Absolutely.
are shining a light on solutions.
And it was a case of, I'm never ever positive in a sort of Pollyanna style. I will say, this is not a great situation. However, here's what we can do, because there's no point in giving into it as far as I'm concerned. I fought far too hard to start my business for some virus to come and take it. So it pivoted very much working with individuals now through the Fairy Job Mother and doing one-to-one work with them, but also offering now businesses. It was the business side I was a bit unsure about it, and it just came to me, as all these great ideas do, that really I should be offering the full outplacement service to businesses as well. So helping individuals and businesses through job loss, job change, redundancy, and unpicking all of that.
So it's everything around the career, from going into finding the right one, helping people let people go, doing things ethically, fighting for your voice, your power, all those things.
Absolutely. Yeah, and for companies, if you have to make staff redundant, it's a horrible thing for managers to have to do as well. They don't in any sense relish this. The ones I'm speaking to, they absolutely hate having to let their good, loyal employees go. But by offering them outplacement, at least they're giving them a little bit more support. And what I've found from chatting to people, that traditional outplacement very much covers the mechanics, what do you want to do next? Here's a CV, off you go. But I'm much more about, how do you feel about this? Now, Tess, we've spoken before, I am not remotely a touchy-feely person, so I don't mean in that kind of way, but there's emotions around redundancy, even if you choose it. There can be betrayal, anger, fear, panic, all of these things need to be got through and picked through before you can move on to the next stage of action and of deciding what's next. There's a bit of, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, and how can they do this to me? And I've seen it all on LinkedIn, and I've spoken to people, and how can they do this to me? I've worked for them for 20 years, and it gets really quite, and you need to work through that. So I understand that. I've been there, and even though I chose to go when I did, and even though I'd chosen to start my own business, it was still a really emotional time, because there's a bit of grief as well about what you're losing, what you had perhaps planned. So helping them to just get through that messy stage and just saying, this is all completely okay, normal. It's okay to go forwards and back and still feel a bit of this and before you go on to the next thing. So a bit of the emotional stuff, but also the bit at the end when traditional outplacement just kind of sends them off into the job market. Because I speak to recruiters all the time, because I deal with training providers, because I network daily, as you know, I meet so many different people. I'm on LinkedIn every day. So I would then look to get them into the next thing as well, as much as I can. So this morning, for example, someone in the group has a particular interest in a particular area. I was looking at a job board for something else. I saw it, I sent it to her. That's just part of who I am. Once you're on my radar, I want you to be there until you get a new job. So
that is a fantastic support. That's almost taking recruitment to a whole different level. And you're not a recruitment person. You're not in a recruitment business. But because of the insight you know, and you understand people's needs and what they go through emotionally on the job hunt, you're like this valuable fairy godmother, even though you're not all touchy-feely. It's quite interesting.
Yes.
So one of the things I loved when we were talking earlier, before the interview started, was that you said you love to help sharp, fired up professional women get what they want. And I
Absolutely.
think that is incredible, because I know from my years of coaching many people that women are the first ones to undervalue their offering and not go for the things that they should be going for, because they're feeling as though they have to be 99% able to do the job, you know. So how do you work with somebody in a situation where they've got everything they need, actually more than they realize, but the confidence and the self-doubt is there, that imposter's there, you know? How do you help them? Give us a bit of an example perhaps, or a tip.
Yeah. So I had a lady a few weeks ago who's got a great CV in the travel industry, and she wants to come out, and it's just that understanding about, you know, I've got a good understanding of quite a few industries because I have moved about quite a lot, and I worked in travel myself, and I understand that in travel they don't pay you particularly well because the travel is the perk, and it is, until it isn't anymore, until you look at that wee plastic bag with your toiletries in it and think, I cannot do this anymore, I cannot pack, where are my clothes, you know, I want to make my own dinner, I just want some time at home. And that's what drove me off a cruise ship in Australia one day, lying on a sunny beach thinking, I am not getting back on that ship because I need my life to change. So this lady's at a real crossroads, she's doing a lot of travel, it's fantastic, and everyone's going, wow, Japan and blah blah blah, and she's fed up with it. Yeah. So, but we had the conversation, about it's the transferable skills. So look, you've done this, you've done that, you've done sales, marketing, branding, etc. You can do that for any business. Oh, and it's that real. So I'm not stuck in travel. No. And it's a hard sell test, and I'm not going to pretend it isn't, especially now because recruiters they need to keep their jobs, so they need to go for the easiest option. So you really have to work hell of a hard. But what I would say is, maybe don't go for the big guys, maybe don't go for the big firms. Look for some of the niche guys that are working from their kitchen table. I've got a couple of clients that rely on them to give them the good people, and go with them and work on building a great relationship. De-travel your CV, take out all the wonderful trips and look at, you've done supply, you've done branding, you've done, you know, getting people on board, you've done sales. These are the sort of things people are looking for. And we actually came out with, you know, business development is something that's really coming up for me just now. Lots of businesses need it because they want to keep going. So they need someone to go out and bring in the business, and this person has that skill. So it is literally just, and people are very, very good at using tons of jargon in their CVs from their old industry, which the new industry doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
So not only are they not impressed, they don't know what it is. So take it out, get it down to some achievements that are not industry specific, that are around building something, bringing X amount of people, you know, sustaining this, starting a new product. Get that on the CV, and I'm able just to talk through taking the travel out. People trust me for whatever reason, and I definitely have a thing where people tell me absolutely everything.
Yeah, and I think that is a vital part to the whole picture, because it's, you know, obviously trust has to be there, but, you know, if people hold something back, it can be detrimental to the decisions you guide them on when it comes to putting that CV together. And if you had known that little bit of information, you might have said, okay, well, instead of saying that, let's do that. So it is important that people open up, and you have to create that environment really quickly.
Really quickly, because I mostly work in power hours, so we have to create it, and people are amazed what they get within an hour, because we really do go into, and I'm really good at understanding what people are not saying, and you know, to asking them, so what is it you like about your job? And often they don't say one of the words that's one of the key elements of their job, and that's where the niggle usually is. You know, I love this, and this, but I don't like, and they don't mention, but you didn't mention sales there, were you actually in a sales job? Oh, Genuinely. So, and sometimes it's personality, and I like to talk about the sort of personality testing stuff around what kind of person are you, because if you're a touchy-feely, caring, sharing sort of character, introverted, who's working in, for example, this is a really basic example, who's working in car sales, you're going to feel annoyed every day because it's basically just hitting you right in the values every day, isn't it? So
it is about matching people to their personalities, careers to personalities. And also I think sometimes people have so many stories in their minds about what they've been told by their people when they're growing up, or teachers, or so much influence that isn't focused on what their real personality is. And they get confused about who they are and what's good for them, you know. And very helpful.
We're really bad at sort of selling ourselves, as you know, the whole imposter syndrome thing kicks in, and then you get I can't put that on LinkedIn, my Auntie Mary might see it and think, who am I to say I'm an ex? Hang on a minute. If your Auntie Mary's on your LinkedIn, she should be supporting you and cheerleading for you. I've got one family member on my LinkedIn. I hope he wants me to do well as I do him. He's in recruitment. We occasionally have a chat and I get some details and bits and pieces of him. But I don't sit back and think, what if he's telling my auntie such a buddy that I'm saying him that? But it's this real keeping yourself down, stay in your own lane mentality about you can only do this, you know, you can only do that. You still hear and see it in Glasgow all the time. I'm from the East End and I used to get it from a client, and no one cares anymore. The only person that cares about this is you. So drop that and let's get you out there and, you know, really start to sell those skills. I talk up their skills. I'm realistic as well, though. That's the other thing. If someone says, you know, I really want to be an event planner and I want to start tomorrow, I'll say, okay, so I think events will come back. But what's our plan? I had a client came to me last night and said, I've been made redundant today. What do? I want to stay in my own industry. His industry is not going to happen anytime soon. So I said that in a nice way, obviously. I said, look, I think you need to go for a plan B for the next 6 to 9 months. What is that? Once you've had a think about that, come back to me and I'll create a CV for that industry because it's not the one you're in.
Yeah, that is a way to move. And if you know you have the right skills and the employer wants you because you're a good fit, they're going to take you. It doesn't matter if you've worked in another industry for a while. No. I know that was one of the biggest challenges they had up here in Aberdeen with the big oil crash, was that a lot of people were coming out of the oil industry with transferable skills. But when they were going into and applying for jobs in other areas, people were saying, well, are you going to stick with this job, or are you just using it as, you know, trading ground until things pick up again? But as we've seen, you know, things haven't necessarily picked up, and people have been able to find a much better way of life in a new career that they would never have otherwise thought about.
Absolutely.
So you're helping people find maybe a more aligned career path as well, you know, that suits their lifestyle, because that changes too.
Absolutely. And we talk about the wish list and what's the priorities now, which might be different to the priorities in 6, 10, 12 a year's time. We don't know, one, where the world's going, and also we don't know if your family situation, if your house, you know, it's all in flux at the minute, but there's also lots of choices and good things in there that you can choose, and you can tell me this is my priority right now, and that's fine, we'll go with that. But then that might change, and you know, the thing that a lady said the other day I did a webinar, and she said, the thing I'm going to miss most is my colleagues. And I said, I thought that, and actually, no, you know, I was all set to hire a co-working space, and then I thought, actually, I quite like working on my own. So it may not look the way you think it's going to look, because I thought I was going to be so miserable without having people around me, and actually, I see the colleagues that I want to see.
Yes.
Don't want to see, and not in that, just you make the time and the effort, don't you? And you find your thing. So the thing that you might think, oh my goodness, I couldn't possibly do that commute, you know, then you get people saying, oh, it's fantastic, I read a book every day, or, you know, it's things suit us at different times, don't they?
Yeah, and I think people are so used to following a routine in their life that they get stuck into a way of being, and they forget that they have other options.
Absolutely.
And this kind of thing that comes around just throws us all into one bag and we get jumbled up. And then it's like, okay, so how do I climb out? And what do I want it to look like? Because suddenly I've got choices now, because I've got time.
Yes.
And now is the time to explore those options, right?
Absolutely.
come and have these conversations. You don't have to use any information that you're given, but it's feeding the mind other ways of thinking. So
That's
tell me
it.
something, your Facebook group, the Fairy Job Mother, is that what it is?
Yes, your Fairy Job Mother.
Your Fairy Job Mother, that is a closed group.
Yes.
Is that simply because it allows people to speak more freely there about what they're experiencing? What made you decide to keep it a closed group rather than an open group?
Yeah, it's to give, there is a little bit of shame around being out of work, sadly, and being made redundant or not really liking your job or wanting to change job. People want a little bit of anonymity to speak about how they feel about their jobs. And, you know, I had a big chat with someone the other day and I was like, have you tried this and have you done that? And then she said, I'm the boss. I've created a job that I hate. So I was like, right, come on, if you're the boss, then you absolutely have the option to change it. She can't right now. It's an industry that's closed, but we talked about, come on, right, you've created this, you know, you need to fix it. So we've given her some suggestions, but yeah, I think there's something about the fact that people can just speak openly. It's a nice group. We've got some really good engagement, some people who are really starting to kind of ask lots of questions. I encourage them to ask questions. I encourage them to tell me what they're thinking. I do lots of lives. I ask lots of pick option A, B or C, so I kind of know where they're at. And I also ask them as they come into the group, why are you coming in? So I get a feel for what they're interested in, what they want to see. I'm not interested in people to make up the numbers, Tess, it's not about that. It's so that it's people who need it. And I also hope that people leave when they do get jobs and go and do their job and recommend it to others who need to be there. But it's a really good community who interact, I would say, and give each other a bit of support too. And there's one lady in particular who posts lots of jobs when she's finding jobs when I'm maybe doing something else. So yeah, it's a really nice feel in there, and I protect them vigorously against people trying to come in and sell things to them.
Wow, I can believe that. In a good way. You know, you're feisty, you're protective, you're passionate, you really come alive. I mean, you obviously love what you do, you know.
Yeah, I do. And I'm really fortunate to do it.
What do you think the biggest challenge is for people out there right now in your area of expertise? You know, what is the biggest challenge, and, you know, how can you help?
It's the fear factor. It's the, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened to me. I don't know what to do. I've heard about all these new interviews and Skype and Zoom, and I'm not, my hair looks terrible and I look enormous on camera and I don't know how to do that and I can't make a CV. And it's just that enormous hamster wheel of panic that people get into. And how on earth am I ever going to get a new job in a pandemic? And, you know, and then you say to people, maybe you don't have to take a job. And they're like,
what?
Sorry, you know.
What did you just say you don't have to get a job? That's interesting.
Could you retire? And they're like, what? You know, is there another way of doing this? And it's that real throwing those spanners in, and people automatically just go, no, we can't do that. And then you say, no, don't just think about it. Go away and think about it. If that was taken away, what would happen? And that's what COVID has done to a lot of people. It's made them realise, I don't actually want to work 5 days a week in an office that's 2 hours away from my house. I don't want to do that anymore. So it has opened up possibilities, and I'm a big fan of, I'm a member of For Networking, and the founder is a guy called Brad Burton, and he talks about what does this make possible? And that's something I just absolutely love. What can we do?
Yeah.
You know, what have you always thought about doing, but something stopped you? Now you've got a redundancy package. What could you do with that? Doesn't actually cost that much to set up a business of most sorts, unless you want to buy stock and premises. Most businesses nowadays are started from someone's computer at home. What could you do? What opportunities have you got now? You know, and it's that getting those cogs and, well, I've always quite fancied that, but I don't really know. Well, again, you're not committing to it right now. Go and look at it. Come to networking. Why don't you speak to someone who does it? There's so many possibilities. So yeah, it's getting out of that really institutionalized, I must sit at my desk from 9 to 5 every day and have my tea at 10:30 mentality that people get into sometimes in certain jobs and careers, and waiting for my pension. You know, it's a whole brave new world, and it's thinking about how you could do things differently, stepping off the hamster wheel a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds to me like all these highly, beautifully skilled people, because we all have something we're really good at, And it's all the stuff around it that stops them from actually daring to try something new or stepping out of their comfort zone. And that's where people like you and other kinds of coaches come in to support people to walk a new path and to actually perhaps be a little bit happier in getting up and going and doing that job every day. Because we know, how many hours do we spend in our job?
It's just utterly miserable. You know, we've all done jobs we hated. It's utterly miserable. And I was talking to the ladies the other day about this. You know, desperation kicks in and you think, oh, I'll go and do, and you go for anything. And it's not the right thing. And it's like a rebound boyfriend. You know it's not the right thing, but you think that's better than nothing. But it's not better than nothing. You know, and sometimes it is better than nothing. If you need the cash immediately, that's fine. It depends where your mindset's at with all that. You know, is this a plan B, short-term, quick fix? You know, I told you this before, when COVID hit, I went to work in Tesco straight away. Yeah. Not because of the cash, but so that I could get out of the house, so that I had routine and purpose and structure, because it's when these things go that people really start to sink quickly, as you well know, and that's when depression and real panic, anxiety, fear kicks in, and some people never get back out of that because they sink, and sometimes it's the higher job you've had, the harder you fall. You know, when someone takes your suit and tie off you, it's literally like they've taken all your clothes off and you just don't know what to do. I've seen it a lot recently, and I don't know what to do with myself every day. So it's about finding those small achievements, those small steps, taking back some control and realizing that, and I say this to people all the time, you are in charge. You're not in charge of the world and the COVID. You're in charge of what you do next, of what you decide to make as your next steps. And Brad also says, you know, he did a great speech for us a few weeks ago. We're scared to make decisions, Tess, in case it's the wrong decision. What about if every decision you made was right because it was right at the time? And that's how you saw it.
And where did it lead you? Yeah.
As long as it's not out of fear and panic, and you can honestly say, I'm not panicking, I'm going to give this a go. That's all it is. You're not, you know, jobs, it's transient nowadays. You're not going to get a gold clock probably anyway. So go and try. If you don't like it, change it. And people are so scared, especially after 45 or whatever. I'm scared to change, because what if my business hadn't worked? I go back and get a job. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to sit do nothing forever.
I know. And I mean, you know, more and more actually, as you say that, you're seeing people actually daring to do that, trying something new. Even now people are getting into sort of network marketing programs where they're actually beginning to look at earning their own residual income that they can actually keep building no matter what happens, whether there's a COVID, whether there's anything. They're still looking for that 9-to-5 job perhaps, because that's their security, but they can build something on the side so that they're less dependent upon their employer for their livelihood. Other people invest, I guess.
Absolutely. And it's that thing about the residual income, which I've got a few tiny little passive income streams. I dabble very slightly in a few things, but it's that bit of having that little bit. I listened to another great talk last week, which was about the constant human need and the fight between the need for consistency and variety. Yeah. And for some people, consistency always wins because you just need to fall on that side. And for other people like us, variety always wins because you go, I'll give it a go, you know. And it's having that absolute bravery, and it is huge bravery to say, I'll give it a bash.
I think it's a bit like working a muscle. The more you practice change, the more change becomes the adventure. And you see it as an adventure rather than a dread. So yes. I think it's just amazing. So tell us a little bit about Laurie when she was a young girl. What did you get up to when you were a young girl? What games did you play? What did you dream about as a young girl?
Well, I remember having a very early podcast on an old tape, which you had, you know, when you had to press the record and the play at the same time.
The red button and
on a really old tape recorder. I always liked people and chatting. I did a lot of amateur dramatics and debating, because it'll all come as no surprise. Up till ballet and dance, and I've got a huge love of theatre, especially musical theatre, so we did a lot of that. The family very much supported me in that. I was a pretty chilled out kid. I was always a little bit different because I was always very exuberant. I kind of always sort of did my own thing, which wasn't a particularly comfortable place to be as a child and teenager, with hugely frizzy hair in the days before GHD straighteners came along. And, you know, all of the other things that you as a teenager. It was pretty rough actually at times. Being slightly over exuberant and passionate about what you did, but there were always people who knew that I was going to do something a little bit different, and who always had a bit of a nod, even at school, would say, you're going to do something, you know, you're going to do something interesting. And I did, and I think I left school, went to uni really young. I went at 16, which was very young. I was very daft, made lots of mistakes with finances, but I got my degree and I was out by 20, and then I went overseas at 20. Never been abroad in my life, and went to be a holiday rep for 6 months and stayed for 6 years on land and 2 on sea. Wow. So definitely
you have lived a little.
I lived a little. Yeah, there's definitely something about, I've done some personality stuff which says that there's a bit of a rebel in there, and that's absolutely true. Just want to do something a little bit. I want to kind of carve my own path, I suppose, and I have. So, yeah.
I think you're somebody who sounds like, if she loves adventure, she can happily help other people explore, change, and grow, right?
Absolutely, and do something different. I'm a person that believes that the world is your oyster, and that life is for living, and that while we have our health and our possibilities, why not? Because I honestly think we only come around once. So while I'm here, I'm going to be sure to enjoy it.
So tell me, how do people work with you? How do they get in touch with you? What can they expect as far as duration of time with you? Is it one session enough? Does it depend on what their needs are? Do you have something you want to share with us on that front?
Yeah, so if someone, I do create CVs for people. If they know exactly what they want to do, I just update them for them and send them something on. But generally I work in sort of power hours. We get quite a lot done in an hour. They can come to me through Your Fairy Job Mother, the Facebook page, or there's also the website as well if they're not Facebook group people. I'm on LinkedIn as Laurie MacPherson, and they can book me there. So normally in a power hour, we would do a kind of fact find of what they want, what they need, and give them a clear path to go on and go forward. In the future, I'm looking to sort of add slightly to that package and maybe do a couple of follow-up sessions. I think especially post-redundancy, 1, to kind of get a path, 2, by that time you're starting to actually hone it down to specific jobs, and 3, right, I've got an interview and a presentation I need, so probably a sort of 3-hour session would be about right. But at the moment, it's more about where do I go next? So I'm working on those. So normally it's a power hour, and people can get me, as I say, in all of those ways, and book me. We do it all over Zoom at the moment. It's lovely, and we can just have a conversation. What do you want to achieve? And we get lots done in an hour because I talk very fast.
Yes, you do. And that is great because it builds energy and excitement. And I think that that's when you're worried about stuff, the one thing you need is a bit of pace so that you forget how much you're petrified of what's coming. And Laurie can just like let you skim over the scary stuff to a place where you feel more secure, more certain about the way forward, and that everything's going to be okay. You've just got to hang in. Yeah? Yes,
I very much believe that as well. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. It is.
Of course it is.
You make it.
You know, what other choices have we got? We don't. That's why we don't have a choice. You know, you either choose it to be okay, or you go into some sort of place where we don't want to go. So we don't go there.
Absolutely. Well, it has been an absolute delight speaking to you. And I think anybody out there who is in that particular boat right now, this is one lady I think you want to get in touch with, or sign up to the group, fill out the answers so that you can be let in, and start seeing how you can start, you know, carving a new path in your future. So Laurie, thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been a delight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Tess. It's been lovely.
Super. And of course, we'll have all the usual links down below so that if you want to just click to find Laurie, it's a lot easier than trying to remember what to do next. And have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, you know who you can come and speak to. So take care for now, and we'll be back soon with somebody else interesting and helpful to help you on your way. Take care for now. Bye.